And we are back with another Get Good at Business highlight slash spotlight. I'm so excited today to be joined by Elizabeth Tidwell. And I am your host, Taylor Proctor, your business coach here to help you get good at business so you can get back into the heart of why you got into business in the first place. And one of the ways that we do that is by learning and growing from the experiences of other entrepreneurs and utilizing what I call the I Move method. And that stands for intuition, marketing, operations, velocity, and execution. So when we can get good at areas of I move, everything in business tends to fall into place. And one of the fastest ways that we can get good at business in those areas is to hear about the experience of other entrepreneurs within those areas. So I'm so excited to introduce and welcome Elizabeth Tidwell to the show. She is a holistic menstrual cycle coach who helps women and menstruators learn vital body literacy and facilitates a deeper relationship between menstruators and their cycles, bodies, and whole selves. She prioritizes nervous system regulation and personal agency, empowering her clients in trauma-informed environments. She is also a mom and the founder of My Club Red, a hormone-friendly period self-care subscription box designed to transform menstruators' periods into a time of self-nurture, radical rest, and self-connecting ritual. She also works one-on-one with individuals looking for support with their menstrual cycle, teaching them vital body literacy that most of us have never been taught, and facilitating that deeper relationship between their cycles, bodies, femininity when applicable, and of course, their whole selves. She also, again, prioritizes that nervous system regulation, personal agency, and making sure that everything is done from a foundation of safety in the body, including learning the awareness and tools necessary to recognize both safety and insecurity. So I am so honored and delighted to have Elizabeth here on the call. Thank you so much for joining us today, Elizabeth.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you have an incredible business that has a very niche audience, at least half of the world, half the population,
Yep.
but also very niche in talking about menstruation. And
Yep.
I know that our audience and I also want to know what was the background and the inspiration that really inspired you to become a menstrual cycle coach and really shape the direction of your My Club Red subscription box.
Yeah. So, honestly, I never would have foreseen this for me because I grew up, I think this is very common. A lot of us in our Western culture grow up pretty not into our periods or into our cycles and just like, yeah, I grew up a huge tomboy. I did not have any interest in this kind of thing. So I always love to laugh at that because I kind of just think back on my life. And if you would have told me this at like, I don't know, 12, 14, 20, like on and on, I would have been shocked. But it kind of fell into my lap. And um, at the time, this was a handful of years ago, I had just had a baby and I hadn't been cycling for a while. I had had before getting pregnant, really terrible period pain. So again, it was like, it was not this lovely thing. And I had no idea that it mattered. So after I had had my baby, um, right afterward, I got an IUD. So again, I wasn't cycling and I was just starting to feel like a little weird in my body, like a little disconnected, a little like I would watch like nature happening outside and I was like, I feel like my body is just too static. It's not like, I don't know. It just felt like something was missing. And serendipitously, a friend recommended the book Wild Power by Alexandra Pope and Shawnee Hugo Wurlitzer. And I had no idea what it was about. And I just was like, oh, yeah, I love book recommendations from this friend. And so I dove in, and it was all about how wise and powerful our menstrual cycles are. And was the very first time I had heard that message. And as soon as I read that, it transformed a whole bunch for me. And I immediately knew that I wanted to help spread that message as well to other people. So I pretty much immediately, upon learning about menstrual cycle awareness, was like, this is for me. I want to be involved in this. It's totally transformed my relationship with myself. It's totally transformed how I conceive of my things like productivity and how to live in alignment with my whole self. I didn't realize so much had been missing before. So yes, I hopped right in so I could help other people start to realize how much power and wisdom and personal guidance is held in our own bodies within the menstrual cycle.
That's fascinating. And I think it's a really good segue into the I of our I move method, which is intuition, because intuition can be in body, intuition can come from experiences. I also have a belief that things tend to happen for reasons. So, like for your friend to recommend that book and you immediately know, I think that's a form of intuition.
Mhm.
So, I would love to know your thoughts on intuition specifically around the menstrual cycle, but also how you utilize intuition to shape the vision and the direction of your business.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that has intuition has become a way bigger access point for me of wisdom and like through my physical body. Before I don't know, I tended to second guess myself a lot more when I would get like, intuitive nudges. But now I so deeply rely on my body to confirm the things that maybe I just thought might be a whim or whatever. But usually I can drop right into my body. And also, I um, really utilize when in my menstrual cycle I am the most intuitive. So that's like during your period. That's a really good time for visioning. So this is really great to think about business wise. This is when I'm like, okay, I want XYZ to either, be a focus coming up, or I'm wondering about getting rid of something like that. Any of these big decisions, especially, I always, my mentors call it bleed on it. So instead of sleep on it, bleed on it. So I go through a menstrual cycle and make sure that I hit that menstrual cycle phase where I can for sure have access, just easier access to this intuitive wisdom in my body at that time. And that, yeah, that really is how I ground into my kind of womb wisdom and my body's knowing and my intuition, making sure they're all really aligned. And it's just so much easier and I don't have that second guessing anymore because it's like once I felt it in my body and that's gotten this confirmation through my menstrual cycle, it's like, okay, great. And then I can focus in so much easier. So it's really taken a lot of guesswork and like second guessing out from business decisions. It's awesome.
That's incredible. I love that. Now, I wonder if some of our listeners are listening and watching this and thinking, okay, but as business owners, things move so fast. So
Mhm.
how do you have the time to wait between to really tap into your intuition and get that solidification?
Yeah, to me, first of all, I am very part-time right now. So like my business has to move slowly because I only have as many hours a week, which is only like 9 right now that I have childcare. So my business may be in a very different place than other people's and my availability and that kind of thing. So it has been nice actually to make sure that I'm not overcommitting myself like I would love to because my body, if I'm waiting for my menstrual phase to get this like confirmation or inner wisdom, that kind of thing, um, necessarily I move slower, which really helps me as like a huge overachiever and like bless you. Um, like I would love, bless you again. I would love to be working on my business constantly, but it actually has been such an asset to help me navigate my own capacity when I make sure that where I'm at in my cycle is something that I literally guide my capacity and I make sure that yeah, I'm not able to work as fast in a kind of negative way because I know my tendency is to totally take on want to do it all, want to be everywhere, do everything. Yeah, and I love my work, so it's endlessly fascinating for me. But it helps me to slow down, which I think helps me make better and more precise decisions, in my business as a whole.
Yeah, less mistakes made, less
Yeah.
issues down the road. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you
like
for
less reactionary, it's more proactive and more less like, "Oh, I'm just gonna grab everything." It's like, no, I'm gonna slowly cycle through even the all the shiny things that come at us in business.
I love that. Thank you for answering that
Mm.
off topic question a little bit.
Yeah.
So now let's move to the M of I move, which is marketing,
Yeah.
right? You have a very specific product, and you are based in the United States, which, as you mentioned in your inspiration story, right, that United States doesn't really look at the menstrual cycle in this way. So
Yes.
marketing is a big thing. So how do you market your business in these innovative and relatable ways to really connect with the individuals who you want to work with and who are looking to explore or even reclaim their relationship with their body, their menstrual cycle, and beyond?
Okay. This has been huge for me to kind of unravel the past couple years as I've been experimenting with business and especially like in this field. And I have found that um the best way for me in this market in the US is through actually people engaging with me instead of just like coming to my website and being ready to enter into this work because there's so much stigma that I have to address first. There's so much like I don't know what that's going to look like because there's not very many menstrual cycle coaches. So there's a lot for me in things like networking, things like person to person, word of mouth. That is where most of my marketing success has been so far because I feel like that when they see that I'm like a normal person and like it's not going to be weird, that takes like the edge off. Whereas with this particular business, I think a lot of people, we just like don't engage with the menstrual cycle. So why would we want a menstrual cycle coach, right? It's like I've just been finding that people don't ever think of this as an option for improvement without first getting you know a girlfriend being like, "Oh, absolutely, this is totally awesome and important and valuable work," instead of me trying to just any sort of stale and not dynamic marketing is huge for me. And then the other really big one is I also do a lot of like first period products and soon services as well. And that is going to be very big because moms are way more likely to want to help their daughters have a better period experience and start off with the knowledge that they didn't have, without realizing that a lot of times the moms discount that they would benefit from this work too. So like actually I, I love the moms that come to my work because they're like, "Oh my gosh, I just didn't realize how much my daughter was totally like so in my first period kits, I have like this two small handouts of some pretty basic period education, which is different than any menarche kit that I've come across. So just that amount of knowledge, moms are like, "Oh my gosh, this is more than I knew," right? More than I knew about periods. So that opens up that additional avenue to see that's like, "Oh, I have things that I could learn and things that I could gain from this kind of work."
Oh, I love that. And earlier you had mentioned you're spending 9 hours a week on your business. So there's a lot of operational practices that you implement. I'm sure there is, and I'm excited to learn more about them via this question. But really, like, when you're doing 9 hours a week as an entrepreneur, and I love this too because we have entrepreneurs of all levels, and we can get good at business by learning from people at all levels because what got us here won't get us there, and what's happening in different industries. And I mean, so many moving parts that we can all learn from. So, for our entrepreneurs who are limited on time or looking to scale down their time and have a little bit more of that space, I would love to know what operational practices you've put into place to really make the most out of that 9 hours that you spend per week.
Yeah, so I my favorite way to maximize my time. So I have a background in writing. I have a master's in creative nonfiction writing. So I love nurturing my email list. It's like one of my favorite ways to nurture my audience because I love to write them. And so, but I that that information will be read and then maybe discarded. And so what I do to maximize how much time and effort and energy I've put into my newsletter is I make sure that I repurpose that content on as many platforms as I can, just so that I'm not like um
Reinventing the wheel.
constantly re just coming up with new content. So I'm like on quite a few platforms. So a newsletter will go to my email list. I will repurpose it for Instagram. I will repurpose it for a blog. Then I will pin to Pinterest you know what I mean? So it's like I'm expanding my ecosystem through one piece of writing, and then that really helps me focus too, and it makes me way more efficient with my time, not only because I can reach more places on more platforms, but also because I know that I don't have to come up with content all the time. I'm like, here's the main thing that I'm talking about this week, and that really makes me way more efficient with those few hours that I do have.
I love it. And also a great segue into our V of I've Move, which is velocity. And you've shown that as well. Like a strategy to add velocity is content repurposement
Hmm.
across platforms. Are there any other strategies or tactics that you found to be effective in sustaining the growth of your business and adding more to it as needed?
Yep. Like I was just mentioning, I love writing. So guest blogging actually, and like PR, that I go and one of my best sellers in my shop is actually a first period kit that comes from one guest blog article. I get a ton of traffic from that. So that is my favorite way, because again, like that's my wheelhouse. I love writing. Um so yeah, guest blogging for me is a big velocity
Builder.
accelerator. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And I think you're the first person that we've had, and we've done over 40 episodes, who has mentioned guest blogging.
It's the
So
best.
that's a gold nugget takeaway for those that are watching and listening, something to potentially explore if it aligns to you and your business. That is so good. So now let's focus on the E of iMove, which is your execution category. What is the big initiative that you are executing on in the coming months? What are you currently channeling your energy into for your coaching business, for your subscription boxes, etc.?
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. I am working on it right now, soon in the next few months, launching a group coaching program specifically for ex-Mormons. So it is menstruality as a healing tool. So, like, how do we come back home to our bodies after like institutional uh, especially because I grew up Mormon, and I feel like that, especially like in the larger American patriarchal society and larger Western world, like that's where a lot of my disconnection to my female body started for me in particular. So I'm so excited to reach more who have a similar background, come back to a different way to engage with our female bodies, a different way to kind of reject the cultural messaging that maybe we internalize. And again, through so many layers of culture. But yeah, I'm so excited to help so many more build this community around coming back home to our bodies and really feeling the power and the daily application of the menstrual cycle.
Ooh, I love that. That is so cool. And I think it's important to note that, like, even in your bio, you had said from you were helping clients in a trauma informed environment.
Hmm.
And I think many of us don't realize that religious trauma can be a big part of that. So for those of you listening, watching, when you heard Mormon and you're like, wait, what is that? That is a religious culture that is very relevant across the world, but also very prominent in Utah, where Elizabeth, I believe that's where you're at,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yep.
Hmm.
But that religious trauma, I think, is a big indicator. So
Yes.
starting that group for that is amazing.
Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, I it's a very big community, and not only like in my area, but also like it's such a huge community when you're in it. It's an all-in thing. So a lot of ex-Mormons have a really hard time finding new community because it's a pretty all-encompassing religion, like a lot of them are. So I'm, yeah, like that community aspect, doing it as a group program, I'm particularly excited about.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, super excited for when that comes out. But in the meantime, how can those watching and listening learn more about you?
Yeah, so all my contact info, you can go to myclubred.com, find out more about working with me as well as those first period kits or subscription boxes. Yeah, and you can also, if you were intrigued by the idea of aligning your business decisions with your menstrual cycle, I have a free download on my website. It's a menstruality magazine that I wrote. It's like 20 something pages. I think it's got a few different articles, and two in particular are going to be really helpful to launch you into this work if this interests you. The first one is going to teach you how to track your menstrual cycles so you can know when you're at these optimal phases in your cycle to align business decisions, daily decisions, all sorts of decisions. And then another article in that free magazine issue is going to tell you what those phases are and their superpowers. So it's really awesome resource.
Amazing. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much. This has been so enlightening and so exciting to hear about. This is a different business model, but I think it is so needed. And it is, like I said, half the world, right? The women of the world.
Yes.
So amazing. And again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So for those of you watching and listening, of course, you can check out Elizabeth's site. It also is in the description with the link to the Menstruality magazine. But if you're interested in learning also about the I Move method and how you can apply it to your business, I would invite you to check out the Get Good at Business monthly mastermind. In that mastermind, we do every other week training. So 2 trainings a month on the I Move method and how to utilize it in your business. We have hot seat Q&A, we have networking and co-working all throughout the month. So if that's something that interests you and you'd like to learn more, you can actually check it out. And the comments below will have a link as well as an understanding that it's actually only $27 to check it out in your first month, get your feet wet and see if it's a good fit. So you might as well come check that out as well. That said, as we continue to move forward through more amazing Get Good at Business highlights and spotlights, be sure to stay tuned. We'll have more to come. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you soon.